So, good morning and aloha. What's going on? It's Mike's from livemyassoff.com. How you doing? Happy morning. A little bit warmer today, which is nice. It's windy, not real chilly though. So I came down to go for my morning walk. I was going to check in with one of my mentors, Bill, as I do usually on what used to be a daily basis. I've been actually pretty lax about that lately. Since I've been over here, which one could argue is I'm sort of on vacation still. I was actually chatting with a buddy about that this morning, and he was sharing with me his experience when he moved to Maui and lived there for a while. And so I've moved here and am living here now. I'm no longer vacationing here. So he was sharing about how when he first moved to Maui, he was, basically on vacation, right, when he first moved there. Simply because it's very vacation related. And actually, now that I think about it, when I first moved to San Diego, I think I was kind of in vacation mode. Especially since when I first moved there, I moved there in, I arrived in San Diego in January after driving cross country from the Boston area in the middle of winter. So it was definitely a welcomed change of weather. But to be fair, I actually had enjoyed myself along the whole way. It was a great trip, actually, driving cross country. If you've never had the opportunity to drive across the United States, I would highly recommend it. In fact, there's a part of me that because I've only done it once, and I've only done it right to left. I've only done it from the East Coast to the West Coast. When Gracie and I go home over the summer, a couple of wonderful things are going to occur, not the least of which is going to be our ability to fly on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, which translates to the ability to fly on the cheapest day of the week, especially in July, because, July is not usually the cheapest month to fly. But what we would like to do, or what I was just thinking about, and I've thought about it before too, but what just flashed in my mind was, hey, maybe we should drive cross country. Because it's actually cheaper, it's cheapest to get to the U.S., basically flying from Bangkok pretty much over the Pacific to the West Coast. And so for the most part, that's Los Angeles, San Francisco. Every now and then Air Canada has a pretty sweet deal, and so you can fly into Vancouver. And then with one of their partners, you can sort of like hop down to San Francisco or San Diego or Los Angeles or something like that. But every now and then, there's like a weird flight, like all of a sudden Korean Airlines is like, oh man, we have no one on our flights. And they offer a direct flight into Las Vegas from Incheon. So who knows? Maybe that'll be and then we just like get a rental car and, go cross country or whatever. But I would really like to do that, and especially in the summer. I've never done it in the summer, and I've never done significant drives across multiple states in the summer. I've done that in the winter, one during my cross country thing then, but also prior to that, the long distance drives I would do with my buddies was from the Boston area down to the Florida Keys, and we would do that in the winter. So that's something that we might do. I think that would be kind of interesting, actually, especially for Gracie to see a little bit more of the United States, because for the most part, her experience of the United States is, especially living, is Coronado and Massachusetts. And if you know anything about those two cities, it is not the majority of the United States. And so it would be cool, actually, for her to see a little bit more of and middle America, as they say. The point is that it'll be good for her to experience. It would be great for me to re-experience more of the United States. Now, we cruised down to Florida for a little bit, and I'll actually put some links to some videos of when we cruised down to Florida on the West Coast. Again, that was just for vacation. That wasn't really for living. So anyway, it'd be fun to do that. And we've got the time, and it probably wouldn't be too expensive. Again, it would be in July, because I'm not going back to the U.S. I'm not going anywhere. where I am confident it will be cold. That would be a waste of my life. Unless I'm doing it intentionally, meaning that like, oh, hey, let's go to Big Bear so Gracie can see some snow. But no. I'm not going back home in the fall. That is not happening. So anyway, so that's just my sort of check-in for that is my check-in for this morning. Because, I'm over here in Thailand, right? And you think, oh yeah, well, I'm going to only explore over here. And it's like, no, I'm actually quite aware that there's a lot to explore in the United States. And, it's funny too, because, you come over here, I come over here, okay? And I actually have, heard many people say, oh, well, they put out these statistics like, there's a small percentage of people in the United States, small percentage of Americans who only have passports. And the people that do have passports, they never really travel internationally, or they just get a passport and they go to like Europe. And no one ever comes to Southeast Asia. No one ever comes to Thailand, or only a few do, right? It's too exotic. No one goes to Cambodia. It's too difficult, right? And again, Gracie and I went to Florida, and you could argue it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense because depending upon where you live, for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hour, less than 5 hour flight, you go to Florida, and that can be a tropical enough for you, right? That can absolutely be a completely different climate, and that can be totally the tropics, man. If you go all the way down to Key West, or let's say Longboat Key, because it's not real touristy, whereas Key West is full on. It's got a Home Depot and Costco and all that, so it's it's like taking any other major U.S. city and just throwing it like in the beach. Whereas Longboat or something like that, or even a little bit of Marathon, let's say Marathon Key, or even Largo all the way at the tip. It's got that home feel to it, the small town feel. Whereas Key West now almost has like a small city feel. But regardless, you can end up in a part of the United States, and you're still in the United States, right? You get off the plane and everyone still speaks the same language. The chances of you running into like a friend randomly are not completely out of the question. How many times have you like gotten off the plane and you'd like, oh my God, dude, what are the chances of me running into you here? Well, the chances of me running into, one of my neighbors vacationing in Florida is pretty good, right? Because people in the United States travel to other places in the United States because it's so massive, right? And so that's that's the beauty of it. So anyway, those are just some things that I was thinking about the United States, So I think about the United States while I'm over here. And that's something else too, because I find that I ran into a guy the other day. We were taking the minibus up from Blueport, the mall down in Hua Hin, and I'll put a link to the little video we did of eating at the food court down there. But I'm sitting next to this guy, and I'm like, oh, this guy's kind of cool, And within 15 minutes, all he could do was start talking about the negative things that were occurring, and then found out where I was from. And then talked all about the negative things about the United States. So it was too expensive. It was too expensive. And of course, that's a relative term. It was too expensive for him relative to the cost of his trip he took to Las Vegas in 1979. And I'm like, dude, your validity of opinion is just useless to me right now. Like, what are you talking about? Like, no kidding. The Mercedes that you bought in 1979 is a smoking deal too. It's all relative, man. So I was just like, okay, whatever. But the point is that I am not bashing the United States. In fact, I think very fondly of the United States, and I'm very grateful to be a citizen of the United States. Being able to pull out a U.S. passport, along with several others, when you're over in this part of the world, has massive benefit. Australia and Canada, Singapore, there's many, right? But the point is that the U.S. passport is it's helpful in being able to travel globally, right? It's one of probably the top 10 most useful passports in the world, in the sense that it allows you to easily go in and out of countries. There are ones that are better, as far as I know, I believe the British passport allows you to go into 2 or 3 more countries than ours does, but I don't know that for sure. The bottom line is that I'm keenly aware of the opportunities I have because I am from the United States of America. And I'm a fan. And so as I'm over here, I'm like, hey, what are the cool things I'm going to do when I get back there? So anyway, I'm not sure whether you guys think about that or not, but I do. So anyways, I just thought I'd share that this morning. It's Mike's from LiveMyAssOff.com saying I hope you live in the dream. Because if you're not living the dream, you're doing it wrong. And you might not have explored your own country or come over to a beautiful one like this to explore it. Have a great morning. Ciao.